One national security analyst says that the race for the White House has become an issue of lockdowns versus recovery. Here's One America's Jack Posobiec.
All right, we are here, thankfully, once again, welcoming back to One America News. It's David Reboy, national security analyst, coming on with us. And I wanted to get into the 2020 election. One of the questions that's come up so much, and I think you're uniquely qualified to answer, is we have this new narrative on the subject of COVID, the subject of this pandemic, public health crisis. Biden has become the lockdown candidate. Trump has become and is the recovery candidate. How do you think that is going to play out in this election?
Well, I think that it's going to play out in a very big way. We had, during the debates, we had Biden absurdly say that, he was blaming Donald Trump for the lockdowns, which was a Democratic policy. He was complaining that the schools are closed, which of course is the responsibility of the teachers' unions primarily. And he tried to make it so that he was, he and his party were less responsible for the lockdowns, and everything bad is Donald Trump's fault. But really, since the president got COVID and has since thankfully recovered, it's been completely different messaging. So you have Donald Trump come out and say, I think really importantly, we should not fear this. We shouldn't live in fear, which is correct, because really the only way, from the beginning of this crisis up until now, the only way out of it is through. And we're going to have to go through this. We cannot lock ourselves down forever. I think there is a significant minority of people in this country who would love to be locked down forever. It's a little bit strange, but this is how it is. And I think the Democrat Party's cult of the mask, every opportunity they get for political theater by wearing masks is something that that they are pushing. So you have the Trump normalcy candidacy against the Biden lockdown, mask, and fear candidacy.
You are currently a resident of Florida, though we're in D.C. right now, and you're a former resident of D.C., so how do you see the difference?
So I think you only really appreciate how things are going when you leave your area and you go to another area, because you need to compare it to someplace. So I came back here to D.C. from Miami Beach, and this place, frankly, feels closed down. A lot of restaurants are closed. There is there are less people on the streets, and the people who are on the streets are all wearing masks. And they're walking past stores that have been closed for months, and restaurants. And I feel terrible for restaurant owners and business people who operate on very thin margins, and they can't handle a lockdown. How could they?
All right, and how do you think that's going to play on Election Day in those battleground states?
I think people really need to understand that, and especially apolitical people maybe who don't follow the news every day, they really need to understand that politics matters, policy matters, and the decisions of Democrats in these states versus the decisions of Republicans could be vastly different. I mean, in Florida we have Ron DeSantis, who's been very aggressive in trying to return life to normal. In places like D.C., it's a different story. In places like New Jersey and New York, it's a different story. California, also a different story. And, there was the old book, Ideas Have Consequences. Well, politics has consequences. And the decisions of politicians, even if you don't care about it, even if you don't read the news or follow Twitter, they will affect you. And I think this is a rare opportunity to reinforce to people, especially people who are involved in politics and the political discussion, really to reinforce to them that you need to pay attention because this stuff matters.
Dave Reboy, thank you so much for spending time with us today. One America News.
Thank you.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call Call and subscribe today.